In today's video, we're going to look at what you should do if your partner tells you that something you've said or done is hurting them. Now, being told that you've hurt someone you love is a really horrible feeling, and it's really tempting to overreact in one way or another and to try to change things super quickly to make that horrible, uncomfortable feeling go away as soon as possible. By the end of this video, you're going to have all the tools you need to make sure that you can deal with this situation in a way that helps both of you to reach a long-term solution and stops the problem from coming back over and over. Before we get to that though, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That'll make sure that you get all the best advice and help to build a great relationship as soon as we post it. All right, so let's look at what you can do when your partner says that something you've said or done, or something you say and do ongoing, hurts or upsets them. Now, the first thing to understand is that you have two completely separate jobs here. You need to provide comfort and support to your partner. They've just told you that they're feeling hurt. You need to give them the love and affection and support. You'd do that if anyone else had hurt them, and you still need to do that if the person who has hurt them is you. In fact, it's probably even more important that you comfort them if you're the one who hurt them. Now, we'll get into how you do that in a moment. But first, let's just talk about the other task you have. You don't just need to comfort your partner. You also need to work with them to try to find a solution to the problem that they've brought up. Now, one of the most common problems that comes up when your partner tells you that something you've said or done has hurt them and that they're feeling upset about it is that you try to do these two tasks at the same time. You want to make their pain go away and you want to solve the problem all at once. Now, this feels like it should be great, yeah? But it's actually a huge mistake. So what happens if you try to do both of these things at once? Well, if you're feeling guilty, the chances are that you're going to try to fix both problems in one by promising to change your behavior and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Okay? In your mind, you've made it all go away and you've shown them that you're taking it seriously by promising that you're going to be able to change. Great so far. Unfortunately, there are a few potential problems with this. Firstly, if you rush straight to the solution, your partner might feel as though they haven't really had a chance to explain how they feel and have you properly understand. Now, I'm sure you can empathize with that. I know I can. When I'm trying to explain to someone that they've hurt my feelings and they respond with, okay, I won't do it again. I feel a little bit cheated. I want to feel understood as well as wanting their behavior to change. And I feel like they're just doing or saying anything to stop me nagging. Now, the second thing is that you're offering a knee-jerk reaction of promising something without taking the time to think through whether you're actually going to be able to change and what making that change is going to cost you. People with an avoidant attachment style will probably know exactly what I mean with this one. It's really, really common and lots of us have done it. Your partner comes in really upset because you haven't talked to them for a few days or something like that, and you feel guilty for hurting them. So you promise them that you're not going to do it again. You might promise that you're going to text them good morning every day, and then you'll text them again at night before bed. You've solved the problem from their side, but after about 3 days, you're feeling stressed, trapped, and overwhelmed. Far from fixing a problem, you've just created a new problem, and one that could potentially destroy your relationship. Now, if you feel more defensive than guilty, you could go the other way. Rather than comforting them, you start to explain why you did nothing wrong and why them feeling hurt isn't valid. This sets some boundaries in place around an eventual resolution to the problem, but it gives your partner no comfort at all. You're so fixated on trying to show that it's not your fault that your partner feels as though they don't matter to you at all. They also feel as though their feelings are simply another problem for you to solve. And that doesn't feel good. You want to feel cared about, not solved. So hopefully now you understand why it's important for you to deal with comforting your partner and trying to find a solution to the problem that works for both of you separately. But how do you begin? Okay, Well, the first thing is always that you must comfort them first. This shows them that you're taking their feelings seriously, and it helps them to feel safe and respected. And this sets the pair of you up for working together to resolve the problem in phase two. So, how do you comfort your partner in this situation? Your first task is to make sure that they know that you fully accept their feelings as valid. Rather than telling them that they're overreacting or that you didn't mean for them to feel that way, give them validation that you're taking their feelings and experiences seriously. You might actually take their feelings more seriously than they do if they try to minimize them. You don't need to accept blame to validate their feelings. You can say something like, I can see how hurt you are. And this clearly hurt you a lot. And I am so, so sorry about that. Or, I actually do understand how painful that would be. These are your ways to show them that you're not going to belittle them or invalidate their experience, and that you're not going to just try and wash over the whole thing as no big deal. Your second task is to reassure your partner that you don't want them to feel that way. They're feeling hurt, and that's not okay. And they need to know that you are on board with that you agree that them being in pain is not okay. You might actually want to thank them for bringing this up. Say, I'm not okay with hurting you. Or we need to find a solution to this because something that leaves you hurt and upset is not okay with me, and we're going to need to change it. Thirdly, now usually the next thing that you would do is to reassure them that you still love them. This will often involve hugs, physical affection, as well as words of reassurance and love. It might be helpful to remind them that you're still a team and that you're going to work together on this. So those are the three main stages of trying to comfort them. So hopefully now your partner is a bit calmer and feels comforted and reassured. It's time to start talking about how you can solve the problem from now on. But how? Well, these are the most important things to remember. Firstly, don't make any knee-jerk reactions. Knee-jerk reactions and instant solutions are not likely to be sustainable. Keep talking about it, thinking about it, and try and find a solution that's actually going to work in the long term. That means that you're going to have to pause and really think about whether a solution is something that you are going to be able to live with and whether you're going to be able to deliver on the promises that you're making. Because making promises that you can't deliver on is also going to really badly hurt your partner. Now, studies show that taking some time back to think about a problem and to not communicate your decision until after a good night's sleep, for example, leads to much better decision making. I mean, we probably didn't need a study to show us that, but science has helpfully at least given us evidence for what we already knew. So it's often a good idea in situations like this to talk the problem through, discuss a couple of different possible solutions, and then say, okay, let's both go away and have a night's sleep, maybe even a day or two, just to think about this and to try and wonder and really explore the ideas by ourselves and see whether we think that that is going to solve the problem and to see whether you can come up with a better solution. Doing that and then saying, okay, we'll set a date, and on that point, we will come back and we will talk about it again, and that's when we'll make our decision. Actually, it really helps, and it gives you the space, and it takes a lot of the pressure off of you. The next thing is that you shouldn't let yourself feel pressured into a solution that's going to make you unhappy. It's not okay for your partner to be sad and hurt in your relationship, but the same is true for you. You need to feel safe and happy and respected and able to explore and express your own personality just as much as they do. Now, some people will weaponize their pain a little bit. They'll tell you how much something you do hurts them as a way to try to pressure you to change in ways that aren't right for you, and without them just saying up front, this is what I would like. Some of them will also describe inconvenience or mild annoyance as hurtful, and that's manipulative. I know that I've dated someone who, whenever things went wrong, they would say, oh, well, I it was just too stressful to apologize. That was just hurtful to me. I was like, well, okay, apologizing isn't fun. None of us enjoy it, but also, no, you just have to do that. And saying it's hurtful to me isn't a get out of jail free card. It's important that you don't allow your partner to weaponize their pain. Recognizing it as real is entirely valid and it's important, but it's also important to get a little bit of a sense of where they put the threshold for something counting as pain, because some of us would have to be quite extreme before we would class something as pain, and other people will throw that word around because they've realized that it stops them being held accountable. So don't feel pressured into behaving in a way or making a promise that doesn't work for you, but also don't allow them to get away with weaponizing their pain if that's what you think they're doing. Make sure that you communicate your needs and that you enforce your own boundaries. Now, this is really tricky, but it's the key to building a balanced relationship where you both feel respected. So, the next thing you need to do is you need to really, really understand both sets of needs. So, this is harder than it sounds because we quite often don't know exactly what our own needs are, and we might not be able to really understand what our partner's needs are or where they come from. And so we feel like we're trying to solve a problem blindfold. It's so much easier if you guys can really sit down together and work out between you what the fundamental needs are and where the difference and where the conflict is occurring. So I need a lot of space in my relationships. If I have a partner who needs a lot of reassurance, the problem isn't actually either of us having needs. That's entirely reasonable. It's entirely reasonable for someone to want reassurance, and it's entirely reasonable for someone else to want space. The problem lies in the interaction between those two and specifically what we both mean. So when someone says, I need reassurance, what I quite often hear is, I want more of your time and I want you to have less space and less time to yourself. And when I say, I need some space, or I need space to myself, what other people hear is, I'm not emotionally available to you and I'm just going to leave you hanging no matter how much reassurance you need. Now, neither of those two things is really contained within our needs. It's really important that you dig down deep to understand what your needs actually are and what you think the other person means by what they're saying, because often we simply won't be right. We just don't interpret other people as accurately as we would like to, and this is why we use words. We talk about things and we ask questions and we explore and we're curious. And that's going to be really helpful to you. Now, the next thing I have to say is that it is important that you accept that when you do something that your partner finds hurtful, there might not actually be a workable solution. You might not be able to find a way for both of you to have your needs met without either of you ending up hurt. Sometimes, unfortunately, the only thing that you can do is to actually end the relationship because you're not compatible. You can't accept your partner just being hurt all the time. You shouldn't be okay with that. But you also can't be expected to act in a way that doesn't feel authentic to you or that isn't in line with your personal values. That isn't okay either. So sometimes when your partner says, okay, when you do this thing, it really hurts me, the correct answer is to say, well, okay, I'm really sorry, but I don't see a way out of this. And that's a really sad time, and some relationships just aren't meant to be. And if that applies to you, I'm really sorry. So that's a bit of a sad way to end our video on what to do when your partner tells you that something you do hurts them. And it is unreasonable to end there, really, because that is the least likely option. Most problems can be worked through, and most of the time, when someone tells you that something you did hurt them, it's something that you weren't aware of and you wouldn't have done if you'd known that it felt the way it does to them. So most of these problems can be resolved, and it's important that you learn how to resolve those in a way that's constructive and creates better long-term solutions. And the really good news is that sometimes, just sometimes, knowing that you've worked through a problem together and you've taken it seriously and you've found a solution actually leads to you being happier than you would have been without the problem. So it can build a stronger relationship, which is wonderful. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments how this video has related to your experiences when someone tells you that you've hurt them. What did you do? How did it work out? Let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.